Cinda, welcome back.
Thank
it's good
you.
to have you.
Good to see you.
It's almost the beginning of the school year, and
Yes.
we decided today we're going to talk about going back to school and preparing your kids. Now, you had to prepare 3 of them.
Yes, I did. And I worked full time, and it was very, very stressful at times.
What was the stressful part of it?
I think especially transitioning from summer into going back to school. And when my kids were little, I was working in the school, so I'd also been off during the summer, and so we'd all gotten into that lazy routine, staying up late, sleeping in, and so just moving into that, having to get up 6 a.m., get everybody dressed out the door and fed with their school stuff was a challenge.
Did you always wake up with him and started your day with them, or because when you have 3 kids, they must have different schedule, they're all on the same schedule, and you with them?
Well, when they were in elementary school, we were pretty much all on the same schedule, but you know, then we would have one in elementary, one in middle, one in high school, so you know, it all changed a little bit.
So when did you start preparing for school?
We would try actually at least a full week before school started, as far as getting the kids to bed earlier. So sleep is one of the most important things that kids need with going back to school, and sleep is something that kids don't get enough of when they're in school. So I wanted to tell folks that, you know, younger children like ages 4 to 6 need 11 to 12 hours of sleep. That's a lot of sleep. And even 7 to 12-year-olds need 10 to 11 hours. So a lot of times parents are letting kids stay up till 9 or 10, like an adult schedule, which is, you know, not going to work for kids. And then they get crabby and irritable, and you're not maybe the best behaved at school, or they can't focus on their work, and it's due to lack of sleep. So sleep is super important.
What if they don't want to go to bed?
Oh, well, what parent hasn't had that challenge? I think, you know, you get into a routine, and then the kids kind of know after a while, okay, this is your bedtime. It's 8 o'clock, or, you know, 8:30 for a little bit of the older kids. But the younger kids, 7:30 to 8 o'clock, and that's their bedtime. And you have a routine, and yeah, sometimes they fight it, but
because I think if you start from the beginning, from the early age, and they're used to the schedule, that's almost easy. But when one day you decided, okay, they're now in kindergarten, they have to be on the schedule, and instead of going to bed at 11 o'clock, now they have to go at 8.
Right.
This is going to be a big challenge.
It is a big challenge, and so that's why I say start early. You don't want to do it the night before school. You want to sit down and tell the kids, okay, we have 5 days before school starts, or 7 days, so we are going to start the bedtime at this time, set it up, tell them, and then you implement it. And of course, there are always consequences. If kids refuse to go to bed or throw fits, then the next night they have to go to bed a half hour earlier.
Oh.
And so that should nip it in the bud. Turn off the television. That's another thing you can do, is take away the TV the next night and put them all to bed earlier.
All right. What else did you do to prepare your kids?
The other things that we did is we made sure, they had all their new school clothes, and, the kids are so excited about that part. The school clothes, the backpacks, the school supplies, and getting everything ready the night before. So you have the clothes laid out, even down to the socks, everything they're going to wear. So it's laid out for them in the morning, and you have the backpack ready by the door with their schedules, where they're supposed to be, everything ready. Have a healthy breakfast, like oatmeal, eggs, toast, peanut butter, things that are going to give them protein and fill them up, not just the sugary cereal. And have healthy snacks in the backpack, because a lot of kids are really nervous when school starts, and the first week of school, and they don't eat much breakfast, and then by 10 o'clock, they're starving.
Yeah.
And so to have snacks in the backpack is really important too.
As far as the supplies for school go, did you with your kids, did you select them together, or was it something that you just did for them?
Oh, we always went together.
Okay.
They got excited about that.
It may get kids in the mood, school is coming.
Oh yeah, they get really excited. Honestly, the little ones, about getting their crayons and their glue and their, school box, or, whatever it is that's on the list, they get really excited about school supplies.
Schools here in the United States, it's just the first day you come, you start your classes right away, or is it some kind of a, because just side note here, in Russia, and I know a lot of European countries, September 1st in Russia, all over the country, every school has a big celebration. It's the first day, so you don't come to school to study, you just come to school to celebrate the beginning of the year.
Wow.
So you dressed up, you meet with your teachers, you learn about the upcoming year. So it
kind
really,
of an orientation.
Yeah, and it really is a holiday because people come to school, students, they come with flowers, they celebrate their teachers. And so it's always been something that in a way we looked forward to because it was a holiday. And so I wonder in countries like here where it's not really a holiday, maybe parents should create something like that for their kids.
Yes, I think that's a wonderful idea. Like, well, I mean, just hearing you say bringing flowers to the teacher, how sweet is that for a child to do that?
No, we're not teaching bribing.
No,
but
you do want to, be on the good side and make friends with your teacher and have a positive beginning. I love that because it's a soft start instead of just here we go, sitting down and starting with schoolwork.
A special day. Yeah.
I know that schools do have like an open house. A lot of times it's the week or two after school starts where the parents can come and meet with the teachers and all, but it's not. Some schools do kind of an ice cream thing or barbecue before school starts, so it just depends on the school. But it's not, universal like what you had in Russia, but I love that.
Yeah, it's a good tradition.
It is.
All right, well, back in this country. So get enough sleep, get all your stuff together, healthy breakfast after school. And then are they on their own, or how much parent involvement do they need?
That's a great question because every child is different and some kids need a little more support than others. I had 3 kids and I know, one of my girls, I didn't really have to say, hey, where's your homework or have you, done this or that. Not too much. She was really on it and really meticulous about that. Whereas it was a little different with the other 2 where I had to be more involved, like checking, okay, what's your homework or, what do you have tonight? Let's get it in the homework folder. Let's get it in your backpack. Check it every night. Make sure it was there in the backpack by the door. And just the organization skills. Not all kids have that organizational ability to plan the projects coming up or when a math test is. And so you do need to give a little more support.
And teach them how to be organized and on time.
And, you don't want to be a helicopter parent where you're, every little thing you're on them. But you do need to be involved. Right. Every parent needs to be involved.
What about those first 2, 3, 4, 5 days where the kids, like you said, they're so used to the summer and then they go back to this environment where there are kids all over, teachers all over, and for some kids it can be overwhelming.
It's really, some kids get a lot of anxiety and they'll have stomach aches, headaches, and not be able to eat their breakfast, have trouble sleeping, just super nervous about going back to school. And they have different things they're worried about. They might be worried about just who they're going to sit with, if they're going to have a friend to eat with at lunch, or is there going to be that bully in the classroom that bothered them the year before, or, is their teacher going to like them, or are they going to be able to do the math this year because they had a really hard time with it last year? I mean, there's a huge number of kinds of things that they develop fears about and worries.
So when the kid comes home and say, what are the signs that the parents can detect that, okay, my child is having anxieties, there's something wrong, or not wrong, but when do parents know that they need to help their children with their social skills or anxiety problems?
Well, I think keeping a listening ear. So I think that first week especially, just to have the evenings kind of open, or you're not running around to 5 different places, so you can listen and ask questions, a lot of questions about, well, who did you sit with at lunch today? Not just, how was school today? Because a lot of kids will just say fine, or they won't really answer. But if you say, well, who did you play with at recess? Who did you sit with at lunch? What did you enjoy that your teacher did today? Ask very specific questions, and you're going to get more answers. And that's a way to kind of find out, well, I didn't have anybody to sit with at lunch, and I sat on the wall at recess. Or you find out that they really didn't have anybody to play with, or and so then you can kind of intervene. So something you might do is chat with them about, well, is there a new student in the class that that doesn't have any friends that you could invite to play with? You know, kind of teach them that skill. Also talking with the teacher, asking the teacher to kind of set them up with a peer buddy if they're really shy or if they're new to the school, so that they have someone to hang out with.
What if a child refuses to go to school? In the very beginning, they just say, sometimes my stomach hurts or I'm not feeling well. You know, whether it's true or not, I guess it's, we don't know. But if you can tell that they just don't want to go to school, what do you do as a parent?
Well, I think that you do need to kind of maybe just step back a little bit. I would call the principal. I would go in and meet with the principal, and I would have a meeting and bring your child and kind of sit down and talk about what it is. There's something. It's you know, probably a bully, or maybe afraid of the teacher. I've had kids over the years where there's certain teachers that are just kind of more aggressive and they have stronger voices, and some little kids are just terrified of the teacher. And so you would need to, you know, troubleshoot and find out what it is. I certainly wouldn't ignore it, and I wouldn't do the, you're going to school, and, you know, that's it. But they do need to go to school. Some kids can develop a stomachache every single day, and they do need to go to school. But you do need to find out what it is. You know, is there somebody sitting next to them, you know, that's, you know, pinching them or poking them, or, you know, I've seen all kinds of things happen in schools where, you know, I'll tell a story. When one of my daughters in first grade, she developed lice, and we had no idea where this came from. And we were in the grocery store, and we saw, you know, the lice in her hair. And it turned out there was a little boy sitting next to her who hugged her all day long, and hugging and gave her the lice, and she didn't like it. She was really uncomfortable with him hugging her, but we didn't know this was a problem, and so, well, the lice came. That wasn't a very nice way to find out about it. But anyway, we were able to talk with the teacher and have that boy, you know, move to another place so he wasn't sitting next to her.
All right. Wow. Well, we're going to take a break, but then I want to talk to you about special needs kids. And I know a lot of people would say, well, every child has a special needs, and that's true.
Yes.
Although there are some, obviously, separate occasions that I want to address with you. So we'll be right back.
Okay.
In a second. Welcome back to Focus Today. We have Cinda Christie today with us, counselor at the Trinity Counseling Center, and we've talked about relationship before, we've talked about self-confidence. Today we're talking about kids going back to school and how we can prepare children for that stressful and fun time at the same time in their life. So, special needs.
Yes.
Some parents know that their kids have special needs, some parents don't, and find it out the hard way.
Yes.
First of all, is there something that parents need to look for?
Yes, I think that you need to listen to what the teacher says. So don't disregard if a teacher says, you know, Johnny's having a lot of trouble paying attention and he's just not able to stay in his seat, and he's talking all the time. Wherever I move him, he's chatty and he's not able to focus. There might be an issue with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So, okay, your child might have it. I mean, and so instead of going, oh no, my kid is fine, listen and be open to what the teacher says. They see lots of kids, they are very knowledgeable, and, you know, receive the feedback instead of getting defensive. It doesn't mean you have to put your child on medication, but to acknowledge there's concern and maybe you need to do some things differently and help him with learning how to concentrate and focus, and have him sit in the front of the room and help him with his homework and just give him extra support.
As a counselor, as a mother, and someone who worked in the school system, do you think we're too quick to diagnose our children with disorders?
I think it can be in our society. You know, that's like a dime a dozen of everyone's had ADHD, it seems like these days. But I do think there's lots of factors in that. It's kind of complicated, but, you know, I think diet is an issue for a lot of kids, the things that they're eating with, you know, just a lot of chemicals and not really eating healthily and not getting enough sleep. Just even those two things can affect a child's ability to concentrate, their irritability. Too much stimulation affects a lot of kids. Not everybody is meant to do well in a classroom with 30 kids and lots of activity and, you know, just all the stuff on the walls, and it's too much stimulation. Yeah. And so a lot of kids do better in a quieter setting, and, you know, so there's just a lot of factors. But I think that, you know, you need to proceed cautiously but open, talk with your doctor, you know, talk with other teachers, and sometimes you'll hear it repeated every year. Mm-hmm. The teachers will tell you the same thing. Your child is not able to listen. They're not able to follow through with assignments. They're not getting their homework in. You know, so you start like, okay, there's a pattern here. And that happened in our family with our son, and we knew he had some issues, and we helped him a lot. But when he got to middle school, he couldn't manage. He couldn't manage 7 teachers, rotating classes. It was overwhelming for him. He couldn't keep track of his assignments, and you know, we had to get extra help for him.
But he made it through school.
He did. It was tough.
He's pretty well now. But yeah. What do you mean? You just got tutors for him?
We did have tutoring for him, but we also did have medication for him to help him get through middle school, and that did really help him. We also worked with the teachers to make sure they were on board, that they knew. He had a lot of trouble with math as far as the auditory processing piece, so to listen to the math teacher and take notes and try to follow the problem, he could not do it. It was too many steps, too fast, and so we did get him help in math. And we did talk with the teacher about that, and then, you know, to slow it down, check with him. Those are the kinds of things that you have to do. Yeah.
I would think that one of the concerns of a Christian parent would be going, because not everyone can afford to send their kids to a Christian school.
Right.
And then, you know, you spend your summer with your kids, or they go to some camp or a Bible school, whatever they do. And then they go back to school, and the kids that they hang out with, they come from different backgrounds. And they spend so much time together. They learn so many things that you have no control of. So how can you, when your kids come home, how can you make sure that their focus is on God, their heart is with God? What is the parent role in this when they can't
control?
When they can't control, when they can't put their kids in Christian school?
Right. I think that is very real, and there's lots of things kids hear at school that parents never wanted them to hear. You know, topics of conversation. You know, where other children are exposed to all kinds of things at home that you wouldn't want your child exposed to. So it is actually working with your children, teaching them to be salt and light in a lot of darkness, but you can, and I think that you make sure that at home you've got to, you know, you're putting God in, that you're having family devotionals, that you're reading Bible stories, you're talking about God, that you, and even going back to the kids that are worried, that you're praying with them about the problems at school, or praying about the bully and asking God for help with that problem, and, you know, really implementing Christ in their lives, because, you know, we know Jesus cares about the bully sitting next to a child. We know that he cares about every little thing. So just speaking to your kids, listening, and, you know, parents really jump into the advice giving so quick, and kids a lot of times just need a parent to listen. And sometimes, and especially with teens, if a parent could just say, wow, I didn't know you were going through that, what are you going to do about it?
It's going to be understanding, compassionate.
Yes, give them more of that. You know, you might be freaked out about something you hear, but if you can just kind of calm yourself and listen, you're going to open the door for more conversation, and then maybe down the road you can really help them solve it. But you want to just listen first and not jump into, well, you shouldn't do that, and you should do this, and I don't want you hanging out with that person, and, you know, those kinds of things turn kids off.
I guess living by example too, because I think so many parents, and I've witnessed, I've met, that they would say, well, how come my kids don't want to go to church? It's school's fault, it's the teacher's fault, you know, they're messing my kids, but the house should be the example.
The home should be the example. And I know of cases where, you know, a teen, I've had people tell me, or even adults, that they grew up in Christian homes where they went to church, but it was never talked about at home. That God wasn't a part of their lives at home. There weren't prayers together. There wasn't discussion. And so I think that just needs to be a part of the Christian family's home, is that, you know, God is a part of everything. what we're watching on television? Is this something, if we had Jesus in the living room, would he watch it with us?
Yeah.
You know, what are we letting our kids be exposed to at home? And then are we putting Christ in our daily walks? And are we talking about what God is doing in our own lives? You know, do we share like, wow, God answered the prayer, and, you know, telling the kids those stories, building their faith?
Cinda, before we wrap this interview, how can people get hold of you, maybe ask some questions, maybe schedule a meeting? Because you're not just meeting with couples, you also do some kids counseling.
Yes, I
and
do.
families. So
I do work with kids, I do work with parents, and do some family
What's your
sessions.
contact information?
My contact information is at Trinity Counseling Center, and that number is 541-245-2787, extension 3.
Extension. Okay. So you see kids.
Yes.
And they come to you with parents or without. I don't know how those sessions are handled. What are the problems, maybe some we haven't mentioned yet, that you see kids are struggling with, especially when the school just starts?
I've talked to a lot of kids just this last week, and one of the questions I always ask is, so what are you looking forward to about going back to school? And they're like, you know, friends, seeing their friends. And what are the things you're not looking forward to with going back to school? So then it kind of just opens the door. Well, it's, you know, I don't have my best friend in any of my classes. I'm not sure who I'm going to hang out with. I looked at the list of teachers. You know, one middle school student said the list of teachers were teachers that she wasn't excited about. Didn't want to do all the homework, feeling stressed about the homework coming up. And so, you know, those kinds of things, just talking about it with kids will reduce their anxiety. Just listening and talking about it. I know, so it must be scary. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So parents should listen, kids should talk. I'm sure there are some teachers listening right now. What would be your advice to teachers who are going to welcome students into their classes this week and have to be their example and their friends for hours each day?
Right. I think a lot of veteran teachers really know that kids come in with all kinds of stuff, and some families might be going through a divorce right now, and so there's a lot of unrest in their home, and so kids are coming in with other emotional things going on, and so it's not so easy to just sit down and start doing math or reading when they've got this other thing. And so for teachers just to be sensitive to all the different needs in the classroom, and it's a big job, I know it, I've taught, and it's tough. I mean, to meet the needs of 25 kids and have the standards you're trying to reach, it's very tough.
All right. Well, any last advice for the parents before we finish the interview, or for the kids?
I just say, you know, have fun, you know, slow things down. I think parents get their kids into too many activities and are too stressed, and especially the first few weeks of school, just slow it down, get to bed early, have time to have conversations, and, you know, put on the Christian music, and, you know, just kind of lower the stress. Any way you can to lower the stress, and it just help everyone get through the first few weeks.
No, I really like that. I was talking to someone yesterday, and she was telling me she has a teenage son growing up, and he likes to listen to more of an upbeat music that she prefers, and she was telling me that sometimes I have to tell him to shut it down because I want peace in my house.
Yes.
I want the house to be a home.
Right.
And even though it may be hard for the kids sometimes, but she said I really want them to, when they come home, I want them to have that, you know, the peace. I don't know how else to describe it.
Right. No, I love that.
I think that will make such a difference for kids if they're peaceful and calm and joyful at home.
Yes.
It's going to make a difference for them and for those around them when they go to school.
I agree. I think that's great advice. I think make the home a sanctuary.
Exactly.
So that when kids come home, it's peaceful. And if you can, get off work early the first few days. Pick them up from school if you can.
And spend time.
Spend time with them.
All right. Thank you, Cinda. You can get Cinda's information here at theDove, or the phone number is 541-245-2787, right? Extension 3.
Thank you.
Call Cinda and talk to her about your kids going back to school. I don't know what we're talking to you next time, but we will have you back.
Okay, great.
Thank you for being with us.